Trendsetters, welcome to today's Grade 12 Math Show. Today we have a special revision lesson on functions. We have selected highlights of lessons shown earlier in the term to help you revise Term 1's work. Please post all your questions and comments on our Facebook page on facebook.com/LearnExtra or on Twitter @LearnExtra so we can help you with your revision. Don't forget to download today's show notes on learn.mindset.co.za or click on the link on our Facebook page. Now it's time to get on with our lesson.
So the figure below represents the graph of the following functions. The first function being the parabola, and the next one is a hyperbola, right? And before the break, I was asked what kind is that a function, the heart that I drew, and we found that it's not a function, all right? So it's a relation for your relationships. Okay, so we've got f of x equals to minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 16, and g of x equals to 8 divided by x plus 5 plus 6. Now, let's look at the questions. Find the coordinates of A, B, C, D, and E. That is your 6 marks. Now, first of all, we have to work out what A is, B is, C, D, and I think also E. But before we look at those questions, you need to tell what are they in that particular function. Okay, so in this case, A is on the x-intercept of the graph, and B also is on the x-intercept, right? And C is the y-cut of your parabola, and D is the y-intercept of your hyperbola, and E is the x-intercept of your hyperbola. Now, let's look at these questions. Now, we need to work out what A is. Okay? Now, A is the x-intercept of the parabola, and our parabola is minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 16. How do you get your x? X-intercepts, you make y equals to 0. Now, I have 0 equals to minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 16. Okay? Now, as we were doing with the grade 11s, we can factorize your minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 16. But because I've got a negative 2, a negative 4, and a 16, there's something common. I can divide through by negative 2. So I can have 0 equals to x squared plus 2x minus 8. Okay? So I have x squared plus 2x minus 8. Now next, this is easy to factorize, equals to 0. Then I have x, 4, and 2 plus and minus. Now, we get to our conclusion. X plus 4, x minus 2 equals to 0. So therefore, x is negative 4 or x is 2. Right, so you've got your 2x values. Now, we have to decide which one goes to A and which one goes to your B. Now, the A is on the left-hand side of your origin, so A is going to be negative and your B is positive. So you conclude by saying, now A is minus 4 and 0, and then your B is 2 and 0. So you've done your A, you've done your B. Now let's look at our C. So the C is the y-cut of the parabola. And you know that at the y-intercept you make x equals to 0. Now if you look at your parabola, you've got y equals to minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 16. If you plug in the node here, you get minus 2 times node, which gives us 0, minus 4 bracket node plus 16. So we're only left with the 16. So therefore, we conclude by saying C is 0 and 16. Because x is not, and then your y is going to be 16. Now we come to D and E. Now we first have to check what D is in this graph and also E. So if we look at D, D is the y-intercept of the hyperbola. Now this is our hyperbola. This is the y-intercept. What happens at the y-intercept? You make x naught. So you've got the equation here, y equals to 8 divided by x plus 5 plus 6. Now you make x 0, so you've got your y equals to 8 divided by 0 plus 5 plus 6, which gives us 8 divided by 5 plus 6, that's 38 divided by 5. So y is 38 divided by 5. So therefore, D is 0 and 38 divided by 5. Now, we only left with E. So if you look at your E, this is your x-intercept of the hyperbola, right? This is your x-intercept of the hyperbola, and the equation is y equals to 8 divided by x plus 5 plus 6. So at the x-intercept, you make y equals to 0. So we have 0 equals to 8 divided by x plus 5 plus 6. Now, I want to get the value of x, and x, I'm dividing by x plus 5. So if you're dealing with fractions, something that you just did in grade 11, dealing with fractions, I look for the LCD, which in this case is x plus 5. What do you do with the LCD? You multiply each and every term with the LCD, which is your x plus 5 in this case. Now, if you multiply 0 by x plus 5, you get 0 equals to 8 divided by x plus 5 times the x plus 5. The x plus 5 divides the x plus 5. So you get 8 plus 6 bracket x plus 5. Okay? Now, we need to get x on its own. So you take the 8 across. So you've got minus 8 equals to 6x plus 30. Then this gives us minus 38 equals to 6x. Therefore, x is, when you get x on its own, you divide by 6 throughout. So you get negative 38 divided by 6, but 2 can still divide into 38 and also 6. So that is negative 19 divided by 3. So your conclusion will be the coordinates of E will be x is negative 19 divided by 3 and y is 0. So you've got your A, your B, your C, D, and also your E. All right. Now, I hope that helps. Now, next question. It says, if M is the turning point of, if M is the turning point of your F, this is your parabola of F, right, find the length of Mn, all right? So we look at this graph. Where is Mn? But there is M here, there is N, okay? So now we're looking at the distance between two graphs. And when we're looking at the difference, the distance between those two graphs, what we normally do is you take the top graph minus the bottom graph. So, but you don't have to take it politically that the one on top always suppresses the bottom. But you've got your parabola in this case at the top minus your hyperbola. Now, and we need the x value. The x value is constant throughout, okay? So, but how do we get that x value? What is M of that parabola? You're right. M is the turning point of the parabola. But now, how do you get the turning point of your parabola? We said earlier on, x equals to minus b divided by 2a. From your ax squared plus bx plus c, you substitute to get your x. Then after that, you take that x value, you substitute in the original one. But earlier on, if you were watching, you were completing a square in grade 11, the lesson before this one. Now, we can do the same and we write it in the form of y equals to a into x minus p squared plus q. But what is our equation? Our equation is minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 16. So you've got y equals to minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 16. Now, how do I complete a square here? I will have the y. I make sure that the coefficient of x squared is 1. So factor out a minus. So I've got minus 2 bracket. Now, this is minus 2x squared. Divide by minus 2, you get x squared. Now, the minus 4x, divide by minus 2, we get a plus 2x. And the 16 divided by minus 2, you get minus 8. Right? Because of the space, guys, it's going to get a bit messy, but I hope you're all following. I'm going to do the next step here. I've got y equals to minus 2, right? Now I need to complete a square here, all right? So I'm going to put in the square bracket and take the x of x squared, which is just x, and the sign that follows x squared, it's a plus. And as we were saying in grade 11, you halve the coefficient of x, so you divide 2 by 2, so you get a 1 squared minus 8. Right, now, but there's something that has happened to the x squared plus 2x. If you look at your x plus 1, if you expand the x plus 1, you get x squared plus 2x plus 1. There's something that you've added here that was not there, so you need to subtract to keep it balanced. So I'm going to subtract a 1 here. So we have y equals to minus 2 bracket x plus 1 squared minus 9. Now, a crucial step, at the last step, for us to remove the square brackets, what do? You multiply through by that negative 2. So you get y, okay? You get your y equals to minus 2 bracket x plus 1 squared. Now, if you multiply a negative 2 by a negative 9, you get a plus 18. Okay? Now, so you've got y equals to a into x minus p squared plus q. And remember in grade 11, your p and q are the coordinates of the turning point. So in this case, therefore, our turning point is minus 118. So now, where does this thing help us? The x value here is a negative 1. So you've got a negative 1 and 18, right? Now, we want to work out the distance between two graphs, which is your parabola and also your hyperbola. And we've got the equation of the parabola, which is y equals to minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 16. And the hyperbola is y equals to, just double check, we have 8 divided by x plus 5 plus 6, 8 divided by x plus 5 plus 6. Now, we need to subtract the hyperbola from the parabola to get your mn. So therefore, the distance mn will be minus 2x squared minus 4x plus 16 minus, don't forget to put a bracket, 8 divided by x plus 5 plus 6. Now, in order for us to get that distance, we needed that x value which we calculated from our turning point. So now, therefore, mn will be equal to minus 2 bracket minus 1 squared minus 4 bracket minus 1 plus 16 minus bracket 8 divided by minus 1 plus 5 plus 6. So you can do a quick calculation at home. So mn will be minus 1 squared it's 1 times negative 2. You get negative 2 plus 4 plus 20 plus 16. So 16 plus 4 is 20 minus 2. That's 18. Minus 8 divided by 4. That's 2 plus 6. You get 8. 18 minus 8 is 10. So therefore, Mn is 10 units. So just to recap on the one that I just did. So Mn is between two graphs, the parabola and also the hyperbola. That's the distance between your two graphs. So you take the top graph minus the bottom graph, and you look for that x value that's common throughout. So you get your Mn equals to 10 units. Now, our next question is, now going back, that I'm going to give you your C. It says, how many points of intersection do F and G share? Right? So now, before we go for break, these graphs, these two graphs are going to meet in different points. So you're going to work it out for me, post it on Facebook, and tell me how many points of intersection does these two graphs have? What do you?
But I think you can continue with that, don't you think?
Okay.
Or you want them to get the challenge?
I wanted. Can you just check their solutions there? How many?
I'll check their solutions.
Okay. Now, thank you guys. So now, if you look at this graph, this is a parabola, this is the hyperbola, and this is a continuation of your hyperbola. And a lot of people will be, you students, you'll be tempted to say there is this point of intersection and that point of intersection, and you'll say there's only 2 points of intersection. But it is not the case, because this is a continuous function. This graph goes on, and that goes on and on. So at some stage, they're going to meet here. So we conclude by saying there's 3 points of intersection of those 2 graphs. So you've got 3 points of intersection of your 2 graphs.
All right, Mindsetters, I hope you guys are enjoying this revision session. Remember, if you are struggling and need help, please post your question on our Facebook page or send an email to helpdesk@learnextra.co.za. Now it's time to take a quick break, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. I'm sure you've seen and heard about the Mindset Rack nomination and hope you'll get involved. If you make a video, post it on YouTube with the title #LearnExtraRack, followed by your name or the name of your group. If you don't have a video, post a photo on our Facebook page and tell us what you've done. Let's use this short holiday to make a big difference in other people's lives. Now, let's get back to revision.
Find the equation of inverse of P, right? Stating its domain and range. Okay? I'm sure you've done it. So you're given y equals to minus 3x squared. Okay? And we said for your inverse, you interchange x and y. So where I see x, I put y. Where I see y, I put x. So this is x equals to minus 3 y squared. And then next I have to make y the subject of the formula. So now I have next, I will have to divide by minus 3, right? So I've got x divided by minus 3 equals to y squared. So therefore y is plus or minus the square root of x divided by negative 3. Now watch. Very important here, if you look at this, you've got y equals to plus or minus the square root of x divided by minus 3. Like we've been saying, I cannot have positive number here in the place of x, because I'll be getting my square root, I'll get a negative, the square root under, okay, English, let's go back, the square root of a negative number. Okay, thank you. Now, so I do some restrictions here. So I have to say x should be less or equals to 0. Because if I put, say, for instance, a minus minus 12, I'll get the square root of negative 12 divided by 3, which is 4. So the square root of 4 is 2. So now, if we look at this graph, just for interest's sake, I've got naught and naught, right? Now, if I sub in maybe minus 3, so I'll get minus 3, and my y values, I'll have minus 1 and 1. And if I sub in minus 12, I'll get plus or minus 2. So it's something that will look like this. Okay. Now, I have to do my domain and range. So now I can have any x value, right, up to where x is not. Then next, I don't have anything. Like my restriction here, x should be less or equals to 0. So my domain in this case, domain is x such that x is an element of, and start from negative infinity, and then I stop and including a 0. Okay? Now with my range, y is an element of, so I can have any y value starting as from negative and up to your positive infinity. So y is an element of negative infinity to positive infinity. This is not a 8 that has fallen down. Okay, it's infinity. Okay. Oh, nice. It's saying draw a sketch graph of P and the inverse of P on the same set of x's. Okay? Now, we've got y equal to minus 3x squared. Right? This graph is roughly not and not. It's negative. I'm sure everyone, you all can do that. Right? So you've got y equals to minus 3x squared. Now, the inverse, because we restricted here, we said x should be less or equals to 0. We've already drawn the inverse for you, but I'll just quickly do it on the same set of x's. This is your inverse, different color. So this is your px, and then this is your p minus 1x. So this is the original function, and that bluish is of your inverse. Okay. Now, here's the next question. Why is the inverse of p not a function? Now, remember what we said last week. For graph to be a function, it has to go through a vertical line test, right? Now, if we look at this inverse, if I draw a vertical line and I move my ruler, right, I'm meeting the y values for 1x, 2y values. Now, can you see that this one fails the vertical line test? So it is not a function. So p, the inverse of p, is not a function because it fails the vertical line test. Okay, so the reason why this is not a function, because it didn't pass the vertical line test. Now the next question says, how must the domain of P be restricted such that the inverse of P is a function? Okay? Now, this is, let me just draw it here. I've got y equals to negative 3x squared. We had the graph there. Okay. This is y equals to minus 3x squared. This is y and that is x. Now, how do I restrict this one in such a way that the inverse of this graph will be a function? Now, if I look at this part, that part from the naught going to the right of my, my function from x and on, x positive, right? So I'll get a one-to-one function. So I'm saying if I can restrict my domain and say x is greater or equals to naught, then I will have my inverse being a function, which is going to be a one-to-one function in that case. And also, if I were to exclude this part and have my left from naught and going negative, so here I'll have x less or equals to 0. So how do I restrict the domain of this function? I would say if x is less or equals to 0, or when x is greater or equals to 0, I will have my inverse as a function, which in this case is going to be a one-to-one function. And remember we said, how do you tell if it's a one-to-one or many-to-one? You use your horizontal line test. Now, guys, moving on to the next question, right? It's given that f of x equals to 8x plus 32 all divided by 20 and g of x equals to 5x divided by 2 minus 4. Calculate f of 1, g of 1. Now, in other words, if I have x as 1 and this function, what is my y value? If I have x equals to 2, in your g, what is your y? Okay, now we have f of 1 equals to 8 bracket. Now I've taken out x, I'm putting 1. So in the place of x, I'm going to have 1 plus 32 all divided by 20, which gives us 32 plus 8, that's 40 divided by 2, by 20, that is, man, this is not 20. 40 divided by 20, that's 2. See, izinto zabelungu apha.
Eish. Technology.
Right, that's 2. Technology. I know we'll fix it. We'll fix it. We're getting there. We're getting there. All right. And then your g of 2 is 5 bracket 2 divided by 2 minus 4, which gives us a 1. So in simple terms, f of 1 plus g of 2, so f of 1 plus g of 2 equals to, we get a 2 plus a 1. And what is 2 plus 1? Thank you. You've passed your maths. 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay, so f of 1 plus g of 2 equals to 3. Now, again, English there. Verify that g is the inverse of f. Now, we need to prove that our inverse, that g is the inverse of f. So in other words, we should have f, which is 8x plus 32. So y equals to 8x plus 32 divided by 20. Now, in order for us to work out the inverse, we said we keep on saying interchange your x and y and simplify, make y the subject, okay? So I've got y equals to 8x plus 32 divided by 20. So now work it out quickly. So x is 8y plus 32 all divided by 20. Now remember, I want to make y the subject of the formula. I'm going to multiply through. You can say cross multiply because this is a denominator of 1. So if you cross multiply, you get your 20x equals to 8y plus 32, right? And there is a common factor here. You can divide by 4 throughout. So if you divide by 4, you get 5x equals to 2y plus 8. And I want to make y the subject of the formula. So I've got 5x minus 8 equals to 2y. Now I want to get y on its own, so I'm going to divide through by 2. So if I divide by 2, I get 5 divided by 2x, 5x divided by 2, minus 8 divided by 2, it's 4, equals to 1. Now, we go up to that function now. Very nice. So g of x equals to 5x divided by 2 minus 4 is actually the inverse of your f of x, because your left-hand side is the same as your right-hand side, which is in this case is a g of x. Now, I hope that helps. We move on to the next question. Question 3. Now, you're given, okay, guys at home, this is a straight line up to your origin. And this looks like an exponential one. So, but then we've got 6 and 4, and it stops there. We don't have this. Okay, so it stops, and then it starts OV. So you've got give the domain and the range of the above function. So guys, can you see it's starting at minus 2. So when x is minus 2, and it goes up through the origin and up to when x is 6. So what we're going to say is the domain of this one is x is an element of, now I'm including the negative 2, so it's from minus 2, okay, sorry, and stop at 6. So I'm using square brackets. It's starting, so including the negative 2, and I'm also including the 6. Now the range is y is an element of, we start at negative 6 including, and we stop at 4. Okay? Now that's our domain and range. Now they're saying, next question, sketch the graph of the inverse of this function on the same set of x's. Now remember guys, when we were working with this, we said we interchange x and y. So here it is clear, and this looks like it's drawn to scale. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 4. So it's 6, 4. So the inverse, your inverse will be, now this coordinate here, interchange x and y. So you'll get your 4, 6. Okay? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's a point there, which is 4, 6. Okay, and I've got another point, okay, that is going to be your 4, 6, and this is not a naught, and it's reflected about the y equals to x. So I'll have a graph that looks like that. That part, I'm going to have that, and with this one I have minus 2 minus 6, so it means I'm going to have minus 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so minus 6 and minus 2, and then I join those. It's a straight line, right? Though it does not look that straight, but this is minus 6 minus 2. So this is your inverse. It looks very nice. Okay, so we've got minus 6 minus 2, those are your graphs. Now explain why this inverse is a function. Guys, when we do a vertical line test here, can you see that you've got 1x, 1y, 1x, 1y? So this function passes your vertical line test. So the inverse is a function because it passes the vertical line test. Okay.
I'm sure you've seen the walk together photo on our page. Please post a caption and like the captions that you think are best. The 3 captions with the most likes will each win a pair of tummy tackies. We'll post the winners on Friday, so get to liking and get all your friends to like too. Now it's time to take a break, so don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back from the break. I know you can't wait for the term to end and for the holidays to start. This year we bring you revision sessions from Term 1 from the 28th of March till the 6th of April. These will be repeats of all the Learn Extra live shows from Term 1. These programs will run from 9 a.m. in the morning till 7 p.m. at night. Go to our website learn.mindset.co.za for all the details. But for now, let's get back to the revision.
We move on to question number 2. With your question 2, it says, it's given that function of x, so f of x equals to 2 to exponent x minus 8. Find an equation of h if h of x is equals to f of 2x plus 8. Now, remember guys, if you're given f of x equals to maybe 3x, and I'm asking you to find f of a, so in other words, what I've done here is I've taken out the x and I bring in the a. So this is 3a. If I ask you from the original one, and I ask you to find f of maybe b plus 1, right? So what has happened here, I've taken out the x, I'm now putting in b plus 1 and then simplify. So this is 3 bracket b plus 1. So that gives us 3b plus 3 when you simplify that. Now, in this case, you need to find an equation of h if h of x equals to f of 2x plus 8. Now, let's write it down. H of x equals to f 2x plus 8. Now, in other words, because we're given that f of x is 2 to exponent x, where I see x, I'm going to sub in the 2x for that h of x. Now, let's do it. So h of x equals 2. Now, this is 2 to exponent x, so I'm going to have 2 to exponent now. In the place of x, I've got 2x, right, plus that 8 minus 8. So therefore, h of x, it's equals to 2 to exponent 2x. And now those two are like terms. What is 8 minus 8? Thank you, well done. 8 minus 8 is 0. Okay? So our final answer is h of x equals to 2 to exponent 2x. Now, our next question is, find an equation of the inverse in the form y equals to, so the inverse of h, so the one that we just did. So you've got h of x equals to 2 to exponent 2x. So remember, the inverse, so you go to your b, h of x is 2 to exponent 2x. So in other words, we have y is 2 to exponent 2x. Now remember, interchange x and y. So in the place of y, I'm going to replace it with the x, and in the place of x, I put y. So we have x is 2 to exponent 2y. Now I want to make y the subject of the formula. So you've got your log, the base stays as 2, then you've got your x equals to 2y. Now, because the question specifies, it says make y the subject of the formula. So you get your y is log x base 2. To get rid of that 2, it's multiplying, so you've got your 2y. So the undo of multiplication is division, so I'm going to divide by 2 throughout. So this is your inverse of h. Okay. Now, yeah, that's what we just did now. Okay. Now the next question, which is more or less the same as the one that we just did, it's given that f of x equals to 2 to exponent x, g of x equals to f of x minus 2, and h of x equals to the inverse of f. Write down the equation of g, okay? So you need to work out what g is, and h in the form of y equals to. Now, f of x is 2 to exponent x. I need to work out what g of x is, but I follow the instruction. They're saying g of x, to get g of x, you need to, in the place of x of the function f, you need to sub in the x minus 2. So now g of x will be 2. Now in the place of x, now it is x minus 2. And we need to simplify that. So now we have g of x is, now guys, with the laws of exponents, you remember that you have 2 to exponent x to minus 2 to exponent x minus 2 is the same as saying 2 to exponent x times 2 to exponent minus 2. All right? And now that is 2 to exponent x times, take this to positive exponents. This is the same as 1 divided by 2 to exponent 2, which is 2 to exponent x all divided by 4. So this is your g of x. Okay, now you need to write down the equations of g and h. So we've done g, we need to work out what h is. And h is the inverse of f. Okay. Now, f is given as 2 to exponent x, right? So you do the second part, so we can call it b. Right, we need to work out h. So h of x is the inverse of f, but we know that f is y equals to 2 to exponent x, and to work out the inverse, interchange x and y, so you get x is 2 to y. Therefore, your log, okay, I can write it here. So this is log of the base is 2, then you get your x. So in the form y equals 2, so this is your inverse of f. Okay, now I hope that helps. Now next question, which is your now question number 4. It says the graph of p of x equals to a to exponent x is sketched below. The point minus 3, 8 lies on the graph. That's very important. The point minus 3, 8 lies on the graph. So this point t is also part of your exponential graph. Now, calculate the value of a. That's question number 1. Write down the equation of the inverse in the form of y equals 2. And next, for which values of x will your inverse be greater than 3? And the next question, write down the equation of q if, it looks like q, if q is a result of p shifted 3 units to the right. Okay? Now, let's start with finding the value of a. It is given that p of x is a to exponent x. So you've got p of x is a to the x. Now, there's something important that's given to us. Says there's a point on that graph which is minus 3, 8. So the coordinates are x is minus 3, y is 8. So we can substitute. Okay, just do it here. Y is 8 equals to a to exponent x is negative 3. Right? Now, I need to get rid of that negative 3. So what do I do to get a 1 there as the exponent? So I need to have a to exponent 1. Now, I'm going to multiply the right by a negative third. So what I've done on the right-hand side, I must also do it on the left-hand side. So this is minus half. Yeah, nazo. This is now 8 to exponent negative third. And you can write 8 to base 2. So this is 2 to exponent 3 times negative 1 over 3 equal to now that is your a. So therefore, a is 2 to exponent negative 1, which is a half. So you've got a equals to half. Now, next question, write down the equation of the inverse in the form y equals 2. Now, we already know that y equals to half all to exponent x is the equation of p of x. Now, we need to work out the inverse of this graph. Now, so we're going to have x equals to half all to exponent y, then log of the base is a half, x is y. So the inverse will be y equals to log base half, log x base half. Now, next question, it says here, for which values of x will p to minus 1x be greater than 3? Now, this question, we're going to do it both ways, both the graph and also algebraically. Right, now, just erase this. We can sketch this graph, our inverse. We know this, that this point here is not 1, because if we substitute by naught in the equation y equals to half to exponent x, if you put a naught there, 1 over 2 to exponent naught, anything raised to exponent 1, in this case you get as a 1, so it's naught and 1. So in other words, we're going to have 1 and 0, right? Now, the point there at the top, it's minus 3, 8, so it means that I'm going to have 8 and minus 3. So that's going to be 8 will be somewhere there and minus 3. And it was asymptotic at the x-axis, so now it means our graph will be asymptotic at y. So we get that graph. This is our inverse. Now let's go back and interpret our graph. The question here says where our y values are greater than 3. Sorry, this one here, it can't be greater than 3. So this should be your p to minus 1x is greater than negative 3. Okay, so we have negative 3 is here, right guys? So you've got negative 3. Now the y values are greater than negative 3 from that point and up, but we want to work out the x-axis. Now if you go to your x-axis, so you've got starting from here going down, but before the naught, can you see that our y values will be greater than minus 3, the region between 0 and 8. So if we look at the graph like that and interpret where is our y of the inverse greater than negative 3, we have x between 0 and 8. So how do you write that? So your x should be between 0 and 8. Now, I know some of you will be tempted to do it algebraically. Then your p to minus 1x, we've worked it out. So it is p minus 1x is greater than negative 3. Now, watch, your p to minus 1x is this graph, which is given log x base half. So we've got log x base half, okay, greater than minus 3. Now, remember, with your logs, you can work from logarithms to your exponential. So you can change from exponents to logs and vice versa. So if I take this to exponential form, I'm going to have half to exponent minus 3. This is greater than x. Now remember, applying your log rules from logs to your exponents. Now, to simplify that, I can put the x on the left-hand side. And so I've got x should be less than half is 2 to exponent negative 1, but all to exponent minus 3. So x must be less than 2 to exponent 3. So x is less than 8. Now, remember, so we've got only one solution here at the moment. So x should be less than 8. Now, we know that our restriction, your x for the inverse, it should be greater than 0. So in other words, from 8 and all the way up until we stop at 0 at the origin. So therefore our solution, your x should be less than 8, but remember it must not be less than 0, so that should be greater than 0. So this is our solution for this problem. Now, for which values of x will your inverse, your y values of the inverse be greater than 3? Now, next, write down the equation of q if q is a result of p shifted 3 units to the right. Now, remember, if you shift to the right, you minus, shift to the left, remember last year, you add. So on the x, now, so we've got this, where is p? P is, okay, got it. P of x is half to exponent x. Now we're shifting 3 units to the right. So this is going to be, now your qx will be half, shift to the left, so this is x minus 3. And then that you can leave it that way. So your q of x equals to half all to exponent x minus 3. Loni, over to you. I think
We've come to the end of our show. Thank you so much, Mindsetters, for joining me and for chatting to me during the show. Remember to visit our website, learn.mindset.co.za, to get your notes and to watch the videos from the term. Goodbye.